What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we're getting ready to get into another episode breakdown of the family business. But before we get into this, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shiznit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 5, episode number 2, titled Desperate Times, Desperate Measures. Now the synopsis states, LC goes to desperate lengths to protect his son Vegas and keep secrets of the past from boiling over. Mariah shares a secret fear with Nevada, and Orlando has a heart-to-heart with Junior. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this episode breakdown, alright? So we kicked this episode off with Charlotte, who's having a little issue with, staying asleep or whatnot. So she decides to turn over to wake up LC to see if he would be interested in a little, one-on-one time or whatnot. Well, unfortunately for her, he tells her that he's exhausted, and he also tells her that maybe we can do it tomorrow. So she turns around and she was like, well, you said that same ish yesterday. I'm just saying. So I was like, come on, LC, what's going on? So anyhow, from there, we head over to see Rio, who's sitting in his ride outside of LoJack's shop or whatnot. Now, LoJack is inside of his shop, working on a vehicle or whatnot, when he receives a phone call asking if he would like to link up later on that night for some drinks. So, of course, he agrees to meet up with the individual on the phone. But back outside, though, we see Rio in his car still, reaching down into the glove box to pull out that boom pow. So I'm like, come on, bro, your mom has already told you she didn't want you to get involved. And I'm not sure what his intentions were. Maybe he wanted to interrogate him a little bit or just scare him a little bit. But at the same time, his mom has already told him, like, I don't want you to be involved. But for some daggone reason, he just cannot let this go. So just as he's getting ready to get up out of his ride, he receives a phone call from Paris. So of course he's pissed at this moment because he's like, look, girl, what do you want, right? So anyhow, from there, we head back over to the Duncans residence where we see London, who's getting ready to head out. But at the same daggone time, we see her daughter, Mariah, getting ready to leave as well. So she's gathering a few things that she wants to take along with her. But of course, she's not going with her mother. She's actually leaving on her own to figure out what she needs to figure out, right? So anyhow, downstairs, we see the security getting together. And of course, the lead security guard comes around and he's just checking with everybody. And, he's asking how everything is going. And of course, they tell him that everything is good. It's a slow night. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So while they saying all of that good stuff, right, the lights cut out. And I'm sitting here like, boy, I said Mariah had a whole game plan in place. And she done came downstairs, cut the switches off, cut off cameras, cut off the lights, every daggone thing. So, of course, top flight security of the world is sitting outside, but they can't figure out what's going on. Before they know anything, old girl is long gone. And I'm sitting up here like, man, we pay y'all way too much. And look at me putting myself in the equation. But I'm just saying, we pay y'all way too much money for y'all to be allowing a teenager to be able to escape the premises. And y'all don't know what's going on? Like, for real? So anyhow, from there, we head back over to see Rio, who's still on the phone with his sister Paris at the moment, but at the same time, he still has his eyes on LoJack's situation. So while he's talking to her, he's like, hold on, girl, I'm gonna have to call you back within the hour. I'll let you know when I'm on my way because she wants to meet up as well. So as Rio is steadily watching what's going on from across the way, he sees LoJack outside with an individual. Now, we can only assume that individual was the individual that was on the phone talking to him individually, right? So now, all of a sudden, Rio is looking to see who it is, right? So as the lights hit the individual just right, we can see that it's his sister, London, who just left from the Duncans residence, who left her daughter at the crib, who just ran away. So ain't that some... While you out here getting your groove back, your daughter just left, right? So, of course, she was like, look, I just needed this time to get away. I just needed this one-on-one grown-up time to get my mind together and all of that good stuff. And I'm like, Dad, So, of course, Rio couldn't believe his eyes. And, of course, he's telling his sister Paris, who's on the phone, that she's not going to believe what he's seeing right now with his own two eyes. So, anyhow, from there, we head back over to the Duncans residence where we see Sister Sonia down in the kitchen, just a crying and eating, right? And it's obviously morning, so it's been a long night for her due to the fact that Junior pretty much sent her on her way or whatnot. And I thought that was rude as heck, man. Like, why? Why mistreat Sonya when she ain't had nothing to do with it? You know what I'm saying? And you taking it out on her. You got these floozies at the crib when you got this whole chicken dinner right here, bro. Beautiful woman, beautiful sister, and you got them off in, man, get the heck up out of here. You don't even deserve Sonya at this moment, man. Now, I know you're hurting. I know that you're going through some stuff right now due to them withholding information and not really telling you who your biological mother was, but daggone, you still a member of the family. So anyhow, moving on from there, man. So while she's still crying and eating or whatnot, Aunt Nene comes downstairs and she was like, "Hey, baby, what you doing down here by yourself?" She was like, "Oh, I just wanted to get down here and spend some time alone." So, of course, Aunt Nene, being the person that she is as Aunt Nene, can tell that something ain't right. So she was like, "No, what's really going on?" So, of course, Sonya conveys to her, what went down the other night, how Junior just sent her away. And I ain't no better because as she's walking away slowly, I'm sitting over here thinking about that song by Outkast. It's like, "I'll call before I come. I just won't pop over out the blue. I hope that you would." And I'm sitting over here mad because I did not like the way that he treated her, but it was also comical because the way he closed the way he closed the door on her like that. But anyhow, getting back to the episode though, Aunt Nene is like, "Look, girl, just be patient with him. This too shall pass," giving her those Bible scriptures or whatnot. And of course, Sonya heeds that, but at the same time, she's simply not understanding why he chose to mistreat her when she did not have anything to do with the situation, right? So, of course, she wants to know what's going on, but of course, Aunt Nene can't really tell her anything, so she tells her, "Look, if you want to know some intel, you need to talk to 3 people. You need to talk to LC, Charlotte, or Donna. Those are your choices." And I'm quite sure that she probably knows something, but of course she's not going to allow it to spill out her lips, right? So I can respect that, right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head over to Donna's crib where we see Junior is still knocked out with the entertainment that he had the previous night. So obviously old boy had a good thing going on last night. So he's awakened by the phone, and it just so happens to be his mom, Donna, right? So she's telling him that the trip was nice after he asked or whatnot, and it was cool all the way up to the point when old boy started to ask her to pay for some ish, right? So of course she was like, "No, now you already know I had to go, so I took the red eye and I'm actually on my way home." So of course Junior's like, "What you talking about, mama?" So he's like, "Are you in town, or you talking about you need me to pick you up from the airport or whatnot?" She was like, "Fool, I've already called you numerous times. You never picked up the phone," because he was laid over at the entertainment, right? So he didn't hear the phone. He had a good night last night. So she's actually in a limo on her way to her house. So of course, he was like, okay, we good. So anyhow, when he gets off the phone, he starts to wake up the entertainment to tell them, like, y'all needs to get up out. So they was like, "What's going on?" He was like, "Look, my mama's on her way home." And they were like, "We thought you lived here, not your mama." Well, she actually lives with me. But that's besides the question. Y'all needs to go unless y'all want to see her physically in person, and that's not what you want to do. So anyhow, I'm assuming they left immediately because from there we don't see them anymore. So anyhow, from there, next we head over to see Charlotte and Nene. So I'm telling y'all right now, here and now, that Nene doesn't miss a thing. Like, she notices every daggone thing, right? So of course she notices that something just isn't right with Charlotte. So of course she's like, "Chippy, what's going on, girl? And of course, as Charlotte is getting ready to tell her what's going on, Nene's daughter walks in and interrupts. So she was like, girl, just go on about your business, because I'm trying to find out the information. So anyhow, after she leaves, once again, Charlotte tries to tell her again what's going on. And then by that time, she's interrupted by London, who has now decided to come back home after she done been out all last night doing God's know what with God knows who. Well, we know who it is, but they don't really know. So anyhow, now all of a sudden she wants to be a mother and come home and look for Mariah. Now Mariah is gone, right? Now she wants to come downstairs in a panic, talking about, Mom, I don't know where she is. She's not in... she went where you went. She went out. She went out. Now all of a sudden you in a panic, right? So anyhow, from there, y'all, we head over to see Dr. Richardson actually pulling up to this facility where she actually has a job interview with another doctor by the name of Dr. Wilson. But Dr. Wilson is nowhere to be found, right? Because it's only LC and Dr. Richardson. So of course, when she sees LC in the office, she's like, oh, please don't. She thought that he was getting ready to unalive her or whatnot. And he was like, no worries. Don't worry about that. He just, I just want to go ahead and give you some good news, all right? I think you're a fantastic doctor. I think you are spectacular at what you do. Long story short, he gives her the facility. She owns and runs everything. So, of course, Dr. Richardson is so very thankful for this opportunity that Elsie has given her or whatnot. And she was like, look, if there's anything that you need from me, anything that you need me to do, anything you need me to help you with, I am here for you, right? And he was like, look, no worries at all. Don't worry about giving me anything back. But if you were to give me anything right now, I need you right now. So, of course, Dr. Richardson is like, okay, what is it? Just name it. So LC conveys to her that, he's been having a little issue in the love department down below, right? And he tells her that he hasn't been able to, perform his, his husband duties in the bedroom. All right. So, of course, he's like, oh, okay, that's a lot of information. So, of course, what can I do to get it back? Because my wife is looking good, better, and great. And I ain't able to do nothing with it. So, anyhow, what can we do, Doc? So, of course, she tells him that, of course, exercise will help. He was like, okay, I can do that. And there are some other natural things that you can do with ginseng and all of that different thing. And he was like, okay, we can go the natural route because he doesn't want to deal with the pills and all of that stuff, right? So, of course, she gives him a prescription or whatnot, and he's on his way. So, anyhow, from there, we head back over to the Duncans residence where we see London now going up to Mariah's room to, to wake her up or whatnot, but quickly finds out that Mariah is gone. So now she wants to run downstairs with Chippy and try to find out what's going on and ask Aunt Nene, does she know anything? Unfortunately, don't nobody know nothing. And I guess that includes the security guards as well, because they ain't told y'all nothing about what went down last night, right? Y'all didn't even know y'all had a power outage. But you know who is communicating? Raven. Because Raven decides to call London to inform her that Mariah actually came over to her crib earlier. So, of course, London wants to go off on Raven, but Raven is sitting over here like, no, we're not going to do that today. But what you can do for Mariah is tell her where her father is so she doesn't have to come back over here asking me if I've heard anything from him. So it's time for London to have that conversation. I know it's hard, but she needs to have that conversation with Mariah, and she needs to pick a time and a place. It is what it is at this moment. But since we're talking about Sister Mariah, we see Nevada driving in his car headed home for the night when he receives a call from Mariah herself, who's gotten herself into a little bit of a bind or whatnot. So she tells Nevada that she needs him to come and scoop her up or whatnot, because she's gotten off on the wrong train and she's ended up in this motel. Now, this motel is the sketchiest of all sketches. I don't know how she ended up in this situation, in this predicament. So he tells her that he's on his way or whatnot, just send him the address. So when Nevada finally shows up, he wants to know what's going on. Why did I have to drive all the way over here to scoop you up when you were already at the residence or whatnot? So, of course, she tells him, that she really doesn't want to talk about it or whatnot. But, of course, Nevada's like, no, that's not going to work for me. Like, I need to know what's good. I came all the way over here across town. The least you can do for me is tell me what's up. So Mariah tells Nevada how she's feeling. She tells him that, hey, I feel like something went down between my mom's and my father, and I believe that my mom did something to my father, that he's no longer here with us in the land of the living, right? So of course Nevada doesn't believe that. He tells her like to be patient. Eventually her father will show back up, and I'm telling Nevada, you just don't know. You just don't know your family too good, bro. So anyhow, from there, we head over to the Den of Thieves where we see Brandon and his friend. Now, let me go ahead and give y'all a heads up. I do not remember Brandon's friend's name. So as I'm talking about him, I'm just going to say Brandon's friend, all right? So Brandon is freaking out right now because his uncle, LoJack, has told his mom about the situation that went down the other day where he and his friend were trying to rob Chippy and Rio for their ride or whatnot, which they did. So anyhow, now Brandon's friend is sitting over here talking all idiotic, talking about, man, I've been in these streets 16 years, bro, and I ain't never heard of no Duncans. And I'm like, bro, that's the best way to be if you're going to be in an illegal lifestyle. Like, you don't want everybody to know you in the business. So, see, that right there is the reason why you're going to get caught up in some stuff you don't need to be. But anyhow, I digress. Anyhow, getting back to the story. So after all of that, Brandon tells him that he needs to head back home because his mom will be there shortly and he doesn't want to get into any more trouble. So anyhow, after Brandon leaves, old boy decides to pull up the Duncans auto website, right? So of course, as he's looking at it and he's looking at the bio and all of that stuff, he's like, man, bro, these ain't nothing but some used car salesmen. And I was like, all right. Alright, bro. So anyhow, while he's still looking at the website, in walks his aunt. Now, when his aunt comes in, of course, they have this conversation about his mom, who's very, very ill. She's in the hospital and she's in need of a transplant. So as we all know, that's very super expensive. And of course, you know, he's asking his aunt about what's going on financially. Are they able to do it? Whoa. So, of course, he tells her not to worry about it. He will take care of it. Of course, Aunt Coretta is like, look, I don't want you to go do nothing stupid. We didn't raise you that way, so don't do nothing that we don't need you to do. And of course, he was like, don't worry about it, right? So anyhow, from there, he gets up and leaves. But he leaves the laptop open or the tablet open so his aunt can see it. So, of course, she leans forward and she sees, you know, the Duncans picture, Elsie and Charlotte's picture up on his tablet. So, of course, she's sitting there like, Lord, why did he have to see these people out of all people in the world? Why did he have to see these people? And I was like, she knows. So I'm sitting over here like, why didn't y'all convey that information to him? Like, typically, if you want people to stay out of the streets, you also tell them who to stay away from. And unfortunately, y'all didn't do that. So he gonna have to learn the hard way, right? I guess so. So anyhow, from there, we head over to the airport where we see Nevada coming to pick up his uncle Orlando, who has decided to fly back into town or whatnot. Long story short, they don't go straight home because, you know, Uncle Orlando got some things he needs to take care of. And one of those things is to go holler at Uncle Junior, right? So Nevada tells him that, hey, man, if you want to see Uncle Junior, he's actually over at the Hellfire Club. Now, of course, Orlando can't believe it, but of course, you know, he was like, look, man, he's a full paid member, all right, there all the time, which is funny because he got his what? You know what, I'm gonna leave that alone. So anyhow, going on from there, they head over to the Hellfire Club, and Orlando shows up to find Junior in there being fed some strawberries by a lady, right? So of course, when he sees Orlando standing off to the side, he was like, here we go with this. So long story short, they go back and forth. You know, it is what it is at this moment. But the great thing about this conversation is this. Orlando tells him that he's wrong for what he's doing to his wife, which I agree. She didn't have anything to do with this. So why are you taking this out on her? And of course, Junior is sitting over here in his feelings like, look, that's your observation. But of course, you know, Orlando is like, no, I'm dealing in facts. And then he goes on to tell Junior that, you know, hey, man, I will forever be your brother. Regardless of what you feel right now, I know it's hard right now, but I will forever be your brother. And of course, you can tell that that touches Junior. Even though he's trying to be tough, even though he's trying to, you know, keep himself from, engaging in this conversation, he still felt that to the heart, man. So anyhow, moving on from there, we head back over to the Duncans residence where we see Aunt Nene and Charlotte having their conversation finally, where, Charlotte was able to convey to her how she was feeling about not being intimate. And she stated to Aunt Nene that she missed being intimate with her husband and how fine he was to her as he got older with age or whatnot. So, it was hard for her to deal with. Now, of course, Aunt Nene is sitting over here talking about, well, I mean, it sometimes happens when men get older. And of course, she was like, I hope not, because I need somebody to break this back in. You see what I'm saying? So anyhow, she tells Nene that, look, girl, I done tried everything. I done tried the blue pills. I've broken them down, placed them in his drink. That didn't work. I don't know what else to do. All I know is that I need my husband back, right? So anyhow, going on from there, it was just good to see them, having that little conversation or finishing that conversation, right? So meanwhile, we see LC going through his prescriptions or whatnot when he receives a phone call from KD. Now, Sheriff KD is calling to inform him that he's actually had the opportunity to speak with Jonah, and he tells him that Jonah would actually like to meet tonight at the ranch alone. So, of course, LC is like, all right, we can definitely do that. Of course, Sheriff KD is not coming because he's entertaining the women over at the Hellfire Club. So that's what he's indulging in right now. So moving on from there, we see Brandon's friend going to see a guy by the name of Darnell. Now, Darnell is out here in these streets. He doing some things. But of course, old boy Brandon's friend told his aunt that he was going to take care of some stuff. So he goes to see Darnell and he wants to talk about, getting down with the crew or whatnot. So initially it looked like there was going to be an issue. But of course, old boy was like, all right, man, let's talk about what you need. So of course, he gets down with, Darnell and his crew and they move on from there. So from there, we head over to the ranch where we see LC waiting on Jonah to show up. And a few ticks later, we finally see Jonah arriving at the ranch. Now, when Jonah gets out of the car, he tells LC not to worry because LC is slowly looking around and he was like, look, it's just me and you. You don't have to worry about anything because I did not want anybody else to be privy of this conversation that we're about to have about this money, right? So anyhow, he was like, okay, well, do you have the money? He was like, yeah, I got the money. It's right here. So anyhow, Jonah is like, look, man, I told you nobody was here because I did not want anybody to be privy of this agreement that we have. So of course, LC is like, huh? Like, what agreement? Like, what made you think that we were going to have another agreement set up? And he was like, oh, what? He said, now I thought you would be a little more humble in this situation, considering the fact that, the bridges you burnt with my father and the others. So LC is like, okay, what do you want from me? So of course, Jonah says, you know what I want. And I was like, what do you want? And he tells LC that he wants that bag of money. So of course, LC throws him the bag and he was like, man, it's all down to $5 million or whatnot. So then Jonah tells LC that from here on out, I'll be expecting $1 million a month. And of course, LC is sitting there like, what? And then he calls him a boy. So of course, LC is like, nah, look, man, I done had enough of this. So all of a sudden, he got to let one go. And he was like, man, you're not serious. Like, you're not going to get away with this. He was like, well, I just have to figure that out. And he's and we no longer see Jonah. Jonah is gone. He's unalived, all right? So that's pretty much the end of the episode. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this recap. There will be another one dropping tomorrow. I got to catch up so I don't get too far behind. So I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night. As I stated before, man, I'm trying to drop a video every day, so stay tuned. Peace.